welcome to Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Rhonda Wardlaw. The United States Naval Karate Team boasts 28 members, both men and women, one of the few club sports that is co-ed. And joining me now is the coach to tell us a little bit more not only about the club, but about the overall benefits of karate. It's so great to have you here. Let's start with, first of all, karate itself, because I think a lot of people, when you talk about club sports and team sports, you automatically think they have to compete against this, and they have a regime. Talk to me a little bit about your schedule.
Well, the training is Monday through Thursday from 4 o'clock to 5:30.
Okay.
And each class will push each of the midshipmen to the limit. They come to class ready to train. They're trying to develop their mind, they're trying to develop their body, and there's quite a bit of training involved. You've been to class and you've seen it. You saw the type of training we go through, a lot of body hardening, a lot of competition style training, and it pushes you to the point where you have to put yourself in what we call the zone of danger.
Okay.
A lot of sports will protect you from danger. We don't wear equipment when we train, as you saw. And you must push yourself to that point where you're able to slowly step closer and closer to the zone of danger until you feel comfortable in it. As a result of that, once you're outside, if something should occur, hopefully you'll be able to react properly.
Now, when you're talking about the particular practices, there is a lot of contact with even the warming up stage.
Correct.
Talk to me about the mind placement that it has to be, as well as...
Well, you just have to accept what it is. You just have to accept what it is. And I know everybody wants to know about where do you place your mind in some esoteric sort of perspective. It's accepting the fact that it's a sport that involves somewhat of an amount of pain, that involves 3 different levels of attack. First level would be to try to disable your opponent. Next would be to maim your opponent. And the last level would be obviously to kill your opponent. And we try to stay on the first level.
Good.
in practice. God forbid something happened to these young men and women in the field, then they have to utilize their skills to the best of their abilities.
So really, it's focus. It's just
Correct.
very sharp, focused thought.
It's laser focus as opposed to floodlight focus.
Now, let me break that down even more. So you have your the white, the yellows, the browns, the black belts. Talk to me about that transition.
Well, you start out as a white belt, just beginner, and then typically within 3 to 4 months you'll take your yellow belt test. 3 to 4 months later, green belt, blue belt, brown belt, and you have 2 brown belt tests before you get your black belt. It normally takes about 3 years to get your black belt at the academy.
And that's important, that we don't want to ever give the idea that somebody just goes in, studies a little bit, and walks away thinking that they have this under control.
This is not a commercial studio. It's not a commercial setting. In a commercial setting, everybody advances irrespective of whether or not they have earned the advancement. Everybody advances so long as they pay their monthly stipend. Everybody gets a little stripe as long as they paid for the little stripe. It's a commercial endeavor that has a pecuniary interest is the bottom line. Here we just train the traditional old-fashioned way, not with competition in mind, but with the ultimate intention in mind, which we can then adapt to competition, and that's why we do so well in competition.
Absolutely. You just finished, what was it, the Garden State?
Garden State Championships was March 26th.
And you did quite well.
Well, the beginners, we took first, second, and third in light and heavyweight. We took second and third in intermediate, and in black belt took second place.
And you still have one more major competition before finals?
We have April 16th, the Keystone State Championships up in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Now, do you take all 28 of the team members?
Everybody goes. Competition is mandatory.
Oh, okay. And do you select the competition as a coach?
The tournaments that we go to?
Yes. Sorry. Okay.
There are many tournaments.
Okay.
We try to stay with the traditional tournaments that have more of a focused effort as opposed to the modern tournaments that tend to look like you know, Ninja Turtles, the stuff you see on TV, and the gymnastics with all the fancy uniforms. We're more interested in a combat-oriented tournament.
And this obviously, you know, I've had this conversation with several coaches about what the sport does as they graduate, and this is just a perfect fit with any naval officer.
Well, if you look at the philosophical perspective underlying the martial arts, It is hand in hand with what they're doing at the Naval Academy. Naval Academy has honor, courage, and commitment as their core values. Our core values are patience, training, and character. Patience, training, and character equals discipline. Discipline plus life's experience equals the way. So when you see all these different martial arts, Taekwondo, Aikido, Kendo, Judo, the common denominator is Do, which means the way. What is the way? Patience plus training plus character plus experience equals the way.
On your website, that is even immensely focused to the point where the regime is set up where if the coach is not there within 10 minutes, so-and-so will start the class. I guess I was most impressed with the fact that these kids were there for something bigger than a sport.
Absolutely. I mean, we're trying to imbue them with leadership skills. And so as a consequence, we've empowered them to take the class. I let them teach the class during the second semester. I want them to teach the class, and we see how they flourish and they develop as they go along the program.
Do you have any particular students or let's say firsties, because they'll be graduating, we don't want to leave anybody out, but if they're graduating, any that stand out as you go into this next competition?
All of them stand out.
Okay.
All of them stand out. I think that the best comment was made when we were at the U.S. Open about 10 years ago. Someone was there videotaping for TV, and they said, well, I understand that West Point has a team. What do you think about West Point? And I said, they're the best of the best. He says, they're the best of the best? I said, absolutely. He says, well, where does that leave you? I said, well, we take those guys, we just make them better. So,
nicely done.
So that's how I feel about the Academy, as well as the team and everybody associated with it.
Yeah. And how do you get your students or the team members? Do you recruit, or do they just come once they're on?
We don't recruit.
Okay.
What we do is we put up posters. In fact, we're getting ready to put up posters now for next year.
Great.
To let them know, if you're interested and you forgot about us or you didn't know about us, mark it down. We start the first day of classes next year in August, and make a mental note, and we'll see you then. And then come next year, we'll put up more posters. And we usually start out, and we can have anywhere from 90 to 100, 120 people in class. And within a week or two, we're down to about 50 to 60.
Yeah. And this is really a long club sport. I mean, if it's from August to May.
We train the whole year.
Yeah.
The entire year. And most of the people will stay with us for the entire time that they're at the Academy.
And yeah, I was just wondering, how many go away as instructors? Have you?
We've had, well, most people are in the military when they're gone. But we've had one person who graduated in 1996, Sal Convento, who was the winningest individual on the team.
Okay.
And he dematriculated from the military, and he opened a school in San Diego, and he's doing very, very, very well out there.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
In your 20 years, what did you take away from this?
Just being with the kids, working out with them, being able to know that you've changed somebody's life, that you've maybe made a small change in the direction that right now seems small, but 300 yards later, the direction is significant, and you can see it in their lives later on, because I'm in touch with most of them from 1992, 93, 95, 96. Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they'll see this video and maybe get back in touch with you, those that might have gone away.
That's great.
If someone wants to get more information on that, signing up for next year, talk to me about how they can do that online.
Just go to the website, and they have all of our emails. They can just drop us a line, and we'll let them know when and where, and they just look for the posters. They'll see them next year.
Okay. Thanks so much, Coach.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
that.